Welcome, friends and fiends, to this very romantic date night special of HHN Trivia. Get out of here! Will there be any happy endings in these 27 questions of blood, gore, and misery? I'll be your horrifying host, 6 Billiam, along with these loves of my life. So grab your partner, your best friend, your favorite plush, or even yourself, because romantic love isn't the only type worth celebrating. Why is it sticky? Feel free to pause and read these rules if you do plan on keeping score, but let's dive right on into this week's categories, which will be just a little different for this special. First, we'll dive into the best romance at HHN with Universal Monsters' The Bride of Frankenstein Lives. And in Till Death Do Us Part, we'll explore the tragic backstories of some of your favorite haunts. In Ripped from the Chest, we'll take a closer look at an organ that some people might be missing. And in Love is in the Air, I'll describe some of the most romantic and sensual scenes from various haunted houses. Finally, it's Jack and Chance. Technically, they aren't a canon couple, so it's more like it's Jack and it's Chance, but as I said, best friend love is also worth celebrating. And once again, this last category will have 2 answers for every question. Now let's kick this off like all the greatest romances do, in black and white with Bride of Frankenstein Lives for 100. Throughout most of the haunt, the Bride of Frankenstein wears the outfit that belonged to this character. After the facade, the bride could be seen wearing Dr. Frankenstein's goggles and lab coat. Good on her for following those OSHA guidelines. On to Till Death Do Us Part for 100. Mr. and Mrs. Westthorne lost their jaws and their lives as punishment for their annoying child's selfishness in this dark fairy tale. That's what happens when a child says no in Revenge of the Tooth Fairy. And if Universal were to ever put out a birth control ad, little James Westthorne would be the star. I could think of another haunt he fits in just a little bit better. Let's see what's been ripped from the chest for 100. Many of us also felt a gaping emptiness after experiencing this highly anticipated haunt in 2023. Well, maybe not highly anticipated for everyone, but certainly for myself. Chucky Ultimate Kill Count was a big bummer, there's no way around it. But hey, Hollywood did it pretty good, so don't count Chucky out just yet. And besides, we did get to see Jennifer Tilly's feet. Love is in the Air for 100. The Love Shack is a little old place where we can get together, but the Love Shack in this haunt took that phrase a little too literally. Hand it to those killer carnies for creating an unforgettable date night spot in Carnival Graveyard, Rust in Pieces. Hell, they probably provide better service than my wife and I had on our first date. Finally, don't forget both answers for Jack and Chance, 100. Welcome to the Carnival of Carnage, where Jack and Chance are blank and blank respectively. With the power of Dr. Oddfellow's Cane of Souls in 2007, Jack was able to become the ringmaster of his own carnival with Chance as his assistant, or his
trumpet of screams, my mistress of mayhem, my harlequin of horror.
Now, Jack might not be the most empathetic boss, but he's certainly a lot less toxic than some of the ones that I've worked for. Now let's skip the foreplay and dive right back into The Bride of Frankenstein Lives for 200. So give her blood, gallons of the stuff, extracted straight from the veins of these lethal creatures. It was such a cool idea to make Dracula's brides the main victims inside the haunt. Their regenerative powers slowly bringing Frankenstein's monster back to life. Love through violence is the most inspiring type of love after all. Let's take a look at something just as cheery in Till Death Do Us Part for 200. Emily was so excited to share every detail of her and Greg's romantic getaway to Paris, even after the city shut down and Greg passed away from a mysterious illness. Love wasn't the only thing to make us blind in 2018's Dead Exposure, Patient Zero. And over the summer, Universal uploaded these postcards as a bit of additional lore that wasn't really seen inside the haunt. Get it? Seen? Also, HHN will never top this subway car scare. One of the best the event has ever done, if you ask me. Back to Ripped from the Chest for 200. And shockingly, it looks like this man doesn't have a heart either, thanks to this notable HHN icon. The Caretaker's signature kill could be seen most recently in both 2015's Icons Unleashed and 2021's Icons Captured, the latter of which was almost in last week's Between the Screams category. Back to Love is in the Air for 200. In this haunt, true love sticks together inside the honeymoon suite. And don't forget to tug on that rope for a sensual surprise. I didn't do it. 2012's Penn and Teller, Nuked Vegas, had so many fun scenes and gags galore. See, I told you they'd stick together. And I bet y'all thought this was gonna be some degenerate reference to the three-breasted showgirl. Oh, would you look at that? I'll be right back, everyone. It's Jack and it's Chance for 200, I think. Okay. Jack's first major appearance at Shady Brook came in this haunt. Well, a decade later, Chance made her first visit to the asylum in this haunt. Oh, that was quick. Well, this ugly baby may have stolen the show in Body Collector's recollections. We're talking about the starring roles seen in the best and worst versions of Shady Brook. Jack in 2006's Psychoscarapy Maximum Madness, and Chance in 2016's Abysmal Lunatic's Playground. You won't stand a chance at finding a single redeeming quality about this haunt.
The show must go on.
Ugh, enough of that trash. Let's move past these bad memories and onto something happier with Bride of Frankenstein Lives for 300. Uttered by the bride at the climax of the haunt, this romantic line echoes the famous phrase, "We belong dead," originally spoken by Frankenstein's monster. As the bride flips the switch to bring her love back from the dead, she passionately screams, "You know, I might need to reconsider where this haunt sits in my overall rankings. It hits all the right boxes." No more happy endings as we venture back to Till Death Do Us Part for 300. Unable to bear any children in life, Evangeline Albright built the Ascension Parish Cemetery, where, in death, she was finally able to take on a motherly role. "2019's Graveyard Games wasn't just one of the best haunted houses, I'm talking anywhere, of all time. But the secrets of this intense backstory could be unraveled through an interactive text game, as well as projections on the parade building facade that gave us classics like this." Me too, buddy. Cheers. Back to Ripped from the Chest for 300. They might be most known for ripping spines, but this group of characters and their assistants have been harvesting all types of organs for almost 20 years. The gentlemen, more commonly known as the Body Collectors, have made quite an impact with every appearance they've made. Sometimes silence says more than 1,000 quips ever could. It's time again to smell the love that's in the air for 300. Getting tied up by a drop-dead sorority girl sounds like a pretty stellar first date. The tentacle monsters and stab wounds might be overkill, but they set the tone for this haunt perfectly. about you guys, but I don't like it that rough. And this sorority sacrifice marked the beginning of the absolutely incredible Slaughter Cinema in 2018. But personally, I'm more of an Amazon Cannibals from Planet Hell type of guy. Death by Snoo Snoo. Whew. Let's go back to the friend zone with Jack and Chance for 300. These two unlucky characters are the first victims captured by Jack and Chance in 2015's The Carnage Return stage show. Who could ever forget Amanda and her unnamed husband? But not us though, we're final girls. Get your own podium. They weren't the first kills, but they both met a pretty grisly end. But hey, that honeymoon gift is pretty incredible.
His and her matching coffins!
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, duh.
We're just clowning around.
Before we get to the 400-point round, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for giving me this platform to be myself. And I hope you're having as much fun watching this episode as I had making it. Now let's get back to the gruesome with Bride of Frankenstein Lives for 400. The bride may not have a big ol' ring on her finger, but one belonging to this important character could be seen sitting on some junk in the blood draining scene. That ring belonged to Dracula. So fancy. Along with Larry Talbot's cane and some skeletal remains of the creature from the Black Lagoon. And later on, well, all of him. Maybe the reason we haven't seen Gilman recently in this canon is because he's dead. But I'll let you all be the judge of that one. It's Till Death Do Us Part for 400. Jonathan Hawthorne turned to a controversial alchemist to save his wife, Elizabeth, from sickness. He perished soon after her, and together their spirits now wander this titular cemetery. One of the most stunningly beautiful haunts of all time, 2011's Winter's Night, the haunting of Hawthorne Cemetery, not only packed an emotional punch, eat your heart out, Dead Man's Pier, but was chock full of really cool tricks that I'd love to see make a return. Time to feel empty again with Ripped from the Chest for 400. Leave it to Cleaver to offer this pulsating gummy found at this food stand during HHN 2022. I wonder if they came in a ribbed version. While these gummies were available at the Tribute store, the immersion was much better over at the Meats Locker in Sting Alley, which I believe is the only location inside of all of Universal to have served as a scare zone, hunt, and dining location. That pesky love is in the air again for 400. Cupid's arrow has struck at many school dances. It always seemed to miss me for some reason, but was most deadly in VD2, The Recurrence, from this movie marathon. Back to HHN 21 with HR Blood and Guts presents Holidays of Horror, with a surprisingly terrifying start to a schlocky and campy haunt. Gotcha! It's Jack and Chance for 400. In the 2021 haunt HHN Icons Captured, Jack and Chance could be seen in costumes from which 3 event years? With Icons Captured set within Fear's Lantern, a realm where each icon feels that they're most powerful, it makes sense that the costumes reflect that. First, Jack and Chance both appear in their 2015 costumes. Later in Shady Brook, Home Sweet Home, the duo is in their 2007 Carnival of Carnage garb, but Chance gets the last laugh with one final costume change. In the throne room, she's seen in her 2016 headlining outfit. Just like my wife, can never settle on an outfit. Palms sweaty, knees weak, it's more intense than meeting your future in-laws for the first time. It's the 500-point round with Bride of Frankenstein Lives for the last time. 2's a party, but 3's a crowd. What prop was removed for the 2021 season to allow for the bride's assistant to join in on the climactic finale? If you were lucky enough to have experienced HHN Light, you might remember a huge gate right here that made it pretty difficult to see the finale. I know why it was there, but hindsight is 20/20. Ugh. We've saved the saddest for last until death do us part, 500. In the 1950s, Catherine and Victor Hartford passed away in their self-built mansion at the end of the street. But the real horrors came years later when false rumors manifested in terrifying ways. In 2012's Dead End, we learned that teenagers have always been assholes, and society was the real monster? Not gonna lie, that's pretty punk rock. And the way they utilized the spinning tunnel is one of the most jaw-dropping moments in HHN history. Just don't forget this clue for next episode. Let's see if there's anything left in Ripped from the Chest for 500. Spread the love! In every section of this mega IP haunt, a heart within a specimen jar could be found. Hey Chino, play that depressing song about jars and hearts. 2016's American Horror Story, Volume 1, had an impressive, if repetitive, selection of the grotesque found throughout Murder House, Freak Show, and Hotel. But Volume 2 was still the far superior haunt. Love is in the air for the last time. Feeling lonely? Try visiting the Twister Bar for a night of being wined and dined. Now, out of the 115 haunts I've experienced at HHN, I firmly believe that 2014's From Dusk Till Dawn is the most underrated. It expertly balanced sexy with scares, slow burn tension with action-packed set pieces. It's kind of like what Spirits of the Coven could have been if it wasn't, really, really bad. Now let's clear off this board with one last visit to Jack and Chance. Name the actors that portrayed Jack and Chance in most promotional releases. James Keaton and Erin Nicole Klein are the faces behind these HHN legends, and you've probably seen them before and not even realized. For Jack and Chance, neither actor set out to portray the duo as the HHN version of Joker and Harley Quinn. While Keaton's initial idea in 2000 was something like Jack Palance playing the Joker, the costume's acrylic teeth caused him to slurp and swallow. However, Keaton built off that to create Jack's breathiness and mannerisms that really helped define the character. For her part, Klein admitted she knew nothing about Harley Quinn when taking up the role, instead turning to Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses with a chaotic and unhinged performance inspired by Baby Firefly. Speaking of the deadly duo, it sounds like it's time for our Carnage question with our very own Herald of Chaos. It looks like someone is getting lucky tonight with an extra 450 points up for grabs. Hopefully this answer is easier to find than never mind. I've heard great things about the plot for this movie. In which haunt can I go to the theater and see it for myself? It's not playing at the Universal Palace Theatre, but rather across the pond in An American Werewolf in London. And with John Landis having a lot of creative control, it's no surprise to see his trademark sneak in. Now that we're all hot and bothered, let's take one final trip into the lantern for Fear's Final Gambit, where our theme will be HHN weddings. And no, it's not about ours. Wager as many points as you would like to either double your score or lose them forever. Just like how you should lose your ex's number. Thank me later. The winners of the first official HHN wedding contest tied the noose in front of this haunted house. While there have been other HHN weddings in the past, 2010 was the first time an official sweepstakes was held. And on the steps of Lydia's Garden Bed and Breakfast, the setting of that year's legendary Truth, the Wyandotte Estate, the winners said their I do's in front of a symphony of chainsaws. Next week, we'll explore tribute stores in more detail as the final gambit from the previous episode And let me know your scores down below and what categories you might like to see in the future. This has been 6 Billion with HHN Trivia, and if you missed the first episode, no worries, you can check it out right here.